Welcome to the First 30 Podcast. We're back with another game review. Today we're discussing the game Ravenbound from Systemic Reaction, the devs that brought you the Just Cause series and Second Extinction. Does flying your Raven over the beautiful world make up for poor flight design? And should we apologize for constantly referencing this game as early access even though it turns out it's not? I don't think so, but let's find out. Thank you for listening to the First 30. I'm your host, Chad Callahan, and alongside me are the crows that wish they were ravens, Tim Harris.
Hello.
And David Marino.
Caw.
Caw indeed. I have a slight fear of crows. Not so much anymore, but as a kid, I was kind of a jerk and tried to get a bunch of crows out of my yard. So I was throwing like rocks at him to try to scare them, and they charged me. The murder of them charged me.
I did the exact same thing as a child, hilariously.
Were we together when this happened? Now I'm wondering, where was I by myself?
I was in River Rouge when it happened
no, then
to me.
It wasn't.
So,
okay. It was in my backyard.
Oh, yeah. No, I threw a rock and it was on.
You know what's interesting?
It was a bad time.
I hear crows, I'm pretty sure that's crows, are the ones that hold grudges. Like, I heard that they hold grudges and will remember faces, or is that
they
wasps
will indeed
remember faces, but crows hold grudges? That's what it was. Yeah.
Wasps?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a specific type of wasp, but they 100% remember faces. And I don't know if they necessarily hold grudges, but like if you like say, kill another wasp, they'll be like, I remember you, buddy, and will take you out. Yeah. Very interesting piece of animal fact on this gaming podcast. But how are you guys? It's been a hot second, obviously, since we've seen each other like 1 week ago, I guess.
Yeah, I've been, I'm always playing lots of stuff. Got a lot of stuff on my plate. I just finished No Straight Roads.
What's that?
It's like they sell it as a rhythm action game, but it's not. It's not a rhythm action game. Like music plays and like stuff, like enemies will attack on the beat, but you are not beholden to that. So you can just like run in, spam attack, dodge out when they do their one beat attack, and then run back in and beat the shit out of them.
That's literally how I played Hi-Fi Rush, so it would be right up my alley.
Oh, there you go.
It started off really well and then kind of petered out because like you can tell they put all of their effort into the beginning of the game, and then like
we're like, we need to get this out soon, so
it's gotta go. It was pretty good. The first one is like not the first one. The first one's like a DJ. That one was okay. The stage was really cool. The second one was like a VTuber. Her stage was probably the best one. And there was like a robotic boy band and a child prodigy pianist. And
sorry.
Oh God, what was the last one was? Oh, it was some like Lady Gaga weird avant-garde.
Oh, art pop. Got it.
Art pop, yeah, thing. That one was the stage was really cool, but that music wasn't that great.
Oh, boo. Well. And Tim, I know you've been working on this podcast and haven't had much of a life though.
Yeah, that's basically all I've been doing is editing, unfortunately. But yeah, I did get to catch one episode of Next Level Chef. I'm about probably a year behind on this. I know one of my TikTok people was on there. Yeah, it's great. It's Gordon Ramsay's new thing.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like
Gordon.
this weird thing where like they have like 3 levels in this kitchen. Like there's the shitty basement. There's the middle floor that has like all your normal stuff. And then the high floor has like all the high-end gadgets you could possibly want. And it's like the dream kitchen. And they all get randomly assigned to like a floor every week. So like the basement has like shitty dull knives and like, hand everything. Okay. You gotta hand mix everything and blend it all by hand and stuff. Like it's wild. But,
what's it called?
It's called Next Level Chef. It's great.
Next Level Chef.
And are they do all of the tiers, are they making the same dish?
No. Oh yeah, that's the other element. Yeah.
Okay.
So every week has a theme. Let's just say one of them was the Italian theme, right? Okay. So this little thing comes down. This is another thing that happens, but there's like this thing that comes down through each floor, right? And it has ingredients on it. And it stops at the high floor and they get to take whatever they want. And then it goes to the middle floor and they get to take what they want. And then the bottom floor gets the leftovers.
Oh.
Yeah.
There was a movie that had that premise.
Like a train though, right? No, that's something different.
No, it was like a prison. and there was a hole in the floor. And this like buffet table started at the top, and like the prisoners at the top got to eat it, and like it would slowly go down.
Yeah,
and then, like the second people got to eat all the rest of the stuff until you got
to the bottom. I do not remember what movie that was.
The shit.
Well,
they stole that idea from Gordon Ramsay.
Well, or the opposite.
I think he got the idea from them. Yeah,
probably. Well, very interesting. Well, there's something to do that Tim, nice recommendation. Next Level Chef. I'll have to check that out. Very interesting. But we're not here to talk about TV or even weird movies that no one's probably ever heard of. We're here to talk about Ravenbound, which is an interesting, I guess, we'll call it a roguelike game. I mean, I guess it is a roguelike game, but it's not like the typical like Hades roguelike game. I don't even know how to explain it, but we could go into the story a little bit because we'll probably get more into that in the gameplay. But Tim, do you want to take us through the little bit of story that we in lore that we know so far?
Yeah, I can attempt.
It's really hard.
A strong word. All the lore's kind of split up between these stones, so we didn't get to learn much about it because Chad only interacted with like 3 stones out of like 1 billion.
Well, to be fair, those were the only first ones that you saw at the beginning of the game. So
yeah, I don't know that they come in order either because we found like the first stone and then there was a new story and then we started at part 3 of another story on the other stone. So like apparently though there is like some gods and they were super, super good for people. And they really, really did good by them. So people worship them. And I have no idea what's going on outside of that. But it appears that something bad has happened. And now hatred is like pulsating out of the land. And you're feeling yourself with it.
Yeah, you have to like absorb hatred and like disperse it and like kind of remove the hatred
and
from
cleanse
the world.
It. Yeah. It's different. There's a lot going on here and we definitely didn't get to see much of the lore, so I have no idea exactly what's going on, but it's something like that.
And I'm kind of bummed because when I was trying to mess with the settings just to get to the beginning, like to get everything ready for the podcast and to like stream it for you guys, there was a cutscene at the very beginning as you open the game, so I couldn't figure out how to get that cutscene to work again so you could see it because I skipped over it so I could mess with the settings thinking, oh, we'll just see this cutscene again. No, you don't see the cutscene again. It's a one and done from what I can gather. I mean, maybe if I restart the game, I'll see if I can like record it and like send it to you so you can like maybe put some of it in. But like, it's really annoying because the cutscenes seemed like to have all this story and background and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, we'll see this later. No, you don't. There's no way to really see it.
So we lost all the lore with the cutscene.
Flying blind.
Yeah, and I don't even know how long it was because I skipped over it to get to the settings and such. Because it starts you off with in windowed mode. Which first off, why? I don't understand. But I will say this is. We're going to preface pretty much everything we say in this entire episode of this game is early access.
Yeah.
So there's probably some jank that is going to be worked on as this goes. So a little heads up there, but still annoying. There is a lot of lore to go and find. So if you are a person who likes to learn about the world and world building and things like that, this is probably rife with it out there because it does seem to be very lore heavy.
Yeah, it's probably going to be between you searching out the stones that have the lore and then like the boss fights will probably have some of the lore built into them as well, and probably some of the side quests knowing games like this.
Yeah. Actually, the one side quest did have a little. We did go through one side quest, and it was still part of the, let's say, tutorial of it all, but it did kind of like introduce the different, I guess, races, because I guess there's like the human race, and then I forget what the other one's called, but there's like this deer-like race, and then like these wolf-like races. So there's all these different like. I mean, as far as I know so far, there might be more. There's only 3 that we've seen, and that looks like we can like open up. But there are like these few races that you can kind of be, and I think we'll probably. I'm hoping to see more because it feels weird to only have those 3. I will say it's interesting to have a deer-like character. The only other time I've ever seen something like that, and it's not necessarily a deer, is in World of Warcraft with the Tauren. and that's the only closest thing I could think of game ways that have like a deer type character. Because I'm even thinking like Skyrim, they have like the lizard guys and the cat people, but I can't think of like any deer type people. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of a nice like different thing, because you always see elves and or like the cat people and things like that. They're just very typical in most of these types of games. So very nice. Or as David was calling them, the furries.
Well, because the one shop we went to where it was like the deer guy, immediately the picture of that like that dude that dresses up in like the latex deer costume, and he's got like the
wait, what?
The plastic
David,
muzzle.
Are you looking?
You haven't seen this? This is like old internet meme stuff, guys. This is like, no, okay. Well, I'll show you a picture later.
I don't do. Can we put it on YouTube?
It's not. It's just a dude dressed up. He's not like doing anything untoward. But that was like the first thing that popped in my mind. I was like, it's that fucking guy, that fucking furry guy.
I've never heard of this.
I've never seen the deer guy. I know the people who wear the cat heads and scare the cats.
No, it's he looks like I mean, it's like plasticky.
Oh, okay, so it's like a plasticky thing. Okay, so it's not real. Okay, I was worried that he was like wearing a taxidermy.
No, it's a costume. It's like a costume, but it's a furry costume.
Okay,
he's into it. He's way too into it.
What were you saying? Cat things? I don't know. I don't know if I want to go to this wormhole. But Tim, what were you saying about cats?
Oh, the people on TikTok, they throw on like the huge cat head, and then they like, they paw the door open, and then all the cats are always like, "What the fuck?" And they get their backs all arched up, and they're like, "What the hell?" Oh man, that's so funny
too.
I don't know what TikTok you're on, but I am not on the same algorithm.
I will send you some videos.
Yeah, I don't know. Please don't. I don't need my algorithm to be.
You don't want it to be comedy? Comedy's great.
I mean, is it funny? Maybe. Okay. If it's funny enough, I guess I'll watch it.
It's funny. I mean, like, it's specifically, like, my guy might be doing stuff off camera, but he's not, like, in the picture. Tim's people is just a giant cat head, right? They're not, it's just like a mascot costume. It's like the typical, freaking the cats
what I would assume a furry is. Yeah. I'm assuming,
like a Chuck E. Cheese head. Just.
Yeah. Anyways, going off of this tirade, the graphics, however, of the character designs are a little lackluster. Like the game itself, like as far as like the world is very pretty, but the character design is actually very kind of disappointing. Like the humans look okay. The best looking one was the first one I kind of picked out. Everyone else looks like they're like ragged, beaten down. And even when we did unlock the wolf type characters, they look smooth. Like they didn't look like they had fur. I don't know if that was on purpose. Like, I don't know. Are they wolves and they're like, they maybe more lichen-esque where they have like a human face where it's skin and not fur on it. I don't know what they were trying to do. It just looks not right. The deers look pretty okay. I didn't unlock those characters, so I didn't get to see a close-up on them, but as far as like walking up to them, they seemed pretty like okay. But yeah, the humans and the wolf characters were a little unnerving, as I guess I'll call it.
Well, they were like really smooth. Like, I don't know if they were supposed to have like fur or whatever, but some of them had like hair fur, but their skin didn't look like it was a coat. Like, it just looked like
it was just
really
gray.
They might be like
painted.
They might not just be like straight wolves either. They might be some kind of hybrid between human and wolf as well, which is why their skin looks smooth. There's a chance. We don't know all the lore, so that could be what's going on. I don't know.
I just saw that I could unlock them afterwards, which you don't get the choices. When you first start the game, you only start off with like human and like a handful of these like traits, I guess.
Yep,
like
traits.
So like, and human, even though it's a race, is one of these traits. So you can kind of unlock all these traits and you rotate through the characters, and you don't necessarily get the traits right away. What you do is you have the likelihood of getting a character with those traits, and you usually get to rotate around like what looked like 3 options when you first start.
Yeah. It's like Rogue Legacy.
4, yeah.
It's a lot like Rogue Legacy. Rogue Legacy, as you play the game, you unlock more stuff that you can get on your characters, and it will always randomly generate a few characters for you, and you can choose to take those, or you can re-roll them and get a new setup of 3 different characters with different traits and stats.
And so it's kind of interesting in how they, like, when you start off the game. But as far as the graphics of the world go, I will say, like, it was pretty nice. Like, in particular, when you are flying as a raven, which we'll get into later, the world is just really pretty. There's the aurora borealis that's happening. Like, there's night and day cycles, so it goes through, you know, like the daytime, and then when it gets nighttime, you see the aurora borealis and the moon and the sun and things like that. So it's kind of like, it's very pretty. And when you're soaring up, you get like the mountains. It's really pretty game. And especially when you can see it from like the angle of the bird. The caves were pretty cool as well. Like we finally, at the very end, we saw the first gate for 2 seconds before I got my face smashed in. But it was really cool. Like the gates open and it's turned into this tunnel, and it was just it was really cool. I gotta say, like, the graphics overall, as far as like the world, were top notch. Unfortunately, the character design just didn't hold up for me. At least when you were like selecting the characters, it was kind of hard to tell in game when you're like talking to characters. Like, you didn't really like feel necessarily that the graphics were out of place, but definitely when you're like looking at the characters and selecting them, you're like, they're all kind of ugly. Like, I don't want any of these characters. It's the same problem I have with Skyrim. Like, every character I build in Skyrim is always hideous, and I hate it.
My characters are always beautiful. Always.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Oh no, they're great. They look wonderful. Yeah.
You prove it. That's all I'm saying.
I play in first person. I don't even know what my characters look like.
You still have to build your character though at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, you spend 5 minutes doing that, and then you'll never see them again.
You have to sit there for a while doing. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
In
I
fact,
spent at least
you
2
just
hours.
click through the presets. Click through the presets real quick. Find out which one you like the best, and then just go.
This is precisely why Chad's disappointed with this game, because there's no character creation.
Yeah, it's just like the character is made for you. You just pick one of 3. I hate it. Like the minute that happened, I was like, I'm out.
It would be neat if they gave you the option of choosing what your character looks like, and then just gave you random stats on top of that.
Right.
I understand why they don't, because it would make it weird to, you know, shift through the
kill them off
different traits, but it, you know, I wouldn't care.
I don't know. It would be nice if you could get baseline, and then like from there you could tweak at least a little bit, but you can't. And I was irritated with that. I will say that much. But that was pretty nice. But also, like, when you're going around, there's like all these different icons. Tim, do you want to take us through all the icons on the map? I say map, but really it's more of a overworld that you see.
Yeah, we can go through that. So basically, I think there's like maybe 6 different icons, nothing crazy. The little blue shield is your direct destination. That's like the important objective. And then there's like a little green shield with an exclamation point. That is your side objectives, which we did do a couple of those. Nothing too fancy. It was just go out and kill stuff. And then there's the Raven Towers that let you turn back into the bird, which, you know, varying degrees of success flying around, but you can turn back into the bird. There's that. And then there's several, like, they're basically just enemy depots, if you will. You have like the basic enemy, and then there's a red outlined one, which we didn't see, and then there's like a scary skull one, which was zombies. And I don't know if that always looks like that, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, like, and I think, was it only the elite ones that would give you fragments? Or those little fragment
only
things?
Elite enemies drop fragments.
Got it. So like, and we'll get into that later, but like they drop these fragment pieces that you want. So, but yeah, it's interesting because like in most games, like I think of Elden Ring, where you just kind of walk around and you find stuff and you just beat them up, and like, which is kind of fun for me. I like that kind of stuff. But this one is really like you just go and you find the icon and then just go down, do that, I don't know, 5-minute battle, and then you get out. It's just kind of like different than most games I've ever played.
5 minutes seems a bit much. Okay.
2-minute battle.
And
I mean,
to be fair, you don't have to use the handhold feature. You could just go explore.
Well, that's the thing too, is because most of, if not all of the like random encampments and side missions we were doing were an icon in the overworld. Are there any like just roving enemies that are just kind of in the world that you can
Does
punch
not
around?
seem like it.
So all the like, we'll call them bandit camps or whatever, but like bandit camps and dungeons, gates, these pillars of light. So everything looks like anyway that it's going to be marked as something to do.
Yeah, and I think it's basically, it's getting a little bit into the gameplay of, you know, the mechanics, but I'll kind of touch on it. They give you the option where you can literally just go to the hub and then immediately fight every boss, or you can go to those camps to charge yourself up with better stuff. Like, it's not necessarily a game where you're going to be roaming around exploring constantly. You can, but those things literally just exist. So if you're not great at the game, you can beef yourself up to fight those bosses.
Like to get more like fragments and cards and stuff for later. Gotcha. Which we will get into later in the gameplay segment. Interesting. I guess that's fair. Like this game will give you ample amount of time to like get yourself up. I will admit, when I was playing it, I feel like I needed that time just to understand how to play the game. Because like if you're not used to this type of game, like this isn't my type of game. I was very confused from the minute that the game started. It literally was cutscene. Your character's just standing in front of a cave, and I was like, what?"
Yeah, that's a big thing with these kind of games. Is you're basically thrown right into it. It's kind of like the Souls-like genre in a way. You're basically just thrown right into it, and there's going to be a light tutorial, and then you're just on your own and have to figure out, you know, what build's going to work. You know, how do I build my character? Do I need to build them real good, or can I just, you know, plow through stuff, you know, stuff like that. You're going to find out as you go, as opposed to everything just being like slowly introduced to you.
Well, I mean, I'll counter argue, at least in the Souls-like games, you start off being like, I want this character, this type of stats, and to do like, and they look like this because I get to customize them. And then I play, not just start game. Not even start game. I opened the game, and maybe this is because it was like first time opening. I opened the game and it just showed the cutscene and then placed me in front of the rock. I was like,
you do
what?
have that option here, though. It's kind of the same thing with the Souls-like games, because in the Souls-like games, your beginning stats basically mean like, this is how you're going to start playing the game, but you're going to build out of that eventually. This one has the same thing, though, because at the first time you get into the game, you don't have much to work with, but as you continue, you're going to get more and more stuff that those characters are going to have available to them, and you're going to be able to choose your loadout from the get instead of just this one thing that you have available to you.
Yeah, because you only start out with like a sword and shield, and like that's it. Like so it's not like in other games where it's like, I want to be more magic based, or like I want to do this, or I want to be an archer. No, it's like everyone starts off baseline, and then as you play, you kind of adjust things going. So very interesting. But we're going to kind of get into gameplay there. But we'll move on into the sound and the music, which was fine. I didn't have any problem with, nothing stuck out to me as upsetting or, you know, exciting. So I think overall sound design
although I feel like it may have just been what we were watching through, because I don't think you noticed it was like the popping, the music
that must
came
have
on,
been
the crackles and pops.
Yeah, I think that was just caused by the way we watched the gameplay.
Oh, okay.
Might have been through like Discord or something, through the feed or something, because I didn't hear it at all, and I'm hoping it was not on the footage, but I guess
we will find out.
We will find if you hear popping, then it was the game.
There'll be a little pop-up right here that it was indeed the game.
And if not, then it wasn't. Or either way, we'll probably listen to it. But David, actually, you have a few favorite tidbits that you'd like to share with the class. What's going on with this?
Not much. I couldn't find a ton of information on this game. But the developers, Systemic Reaction, is a subsidiary of Avalanche, who...
That sounds familiar.
It's a different Avalanche than the one you're thinking of.
Okay.
The Avalanche you probably think of are the people that just released Hogwarts Legacy. It's not that Avalanche.
That's the one David doesn't like. Oh, no.
It's the avalanche that makes Just Cause and Second Extinction.
Oh wait, don't you like Just Cause?
Never mind. It's the one that David likes.
Both Just Cause and Second Extinction. Well, Just Cause was made back before they split up into a bunch of like separate studios.
Okay.
But Second Extinction is also directly involved with Systemic Reaction. Like they made Second Extinction, which probably got put off the 1.0 release for this game, which miffs me a little bit.
Yeah, there's not enough dinosaurs in this one, dang it.
Yeah, go finish your dinosaur game before you make another one, god damn it. I'm going to put fun in quotes because this isn't a very fun tidbit. The game must be connected at all times in order to play.
Okay, I actually, you know what? I will quickly, because I forgot about this, I hate the fact that you have to log into a separate like account just to play this game. Yeah. I forgot about that, and you just reminded me of this, and I'm irritated by it. So this is something I will say to the death. I don't mind logging into like Origin or like Steam. I get it because it's more of like that's the overall browser and I get several games out of it. No, this is just for this game and I have to be logged into it. Why? They're trying to do we didn't talk about this before, but they're trying to do the kind of Dark Souls thing where it's like you walk up into someone else's like where they died or their scratch marks or whatever like that.
Oh yeah, you get like your extra cards,
You get like extra cards from that. So it's just like I get what they're trying to do, but I don't see the value in it personally.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty valuable perk. I'm going to just put that out there right now. You got stuff you wouldn't have had access to in probably like the end game from that grave. So
I couldn't afford it because it was too early in the game anyway. So but,
yeah. Well, you kept ignoring all the mana is what happened.
I did ignore all the mana. It's fine. Anyways. But I still kind of get irked by that. Like I think there's got to be a better way. I don't like the fact, why did I have to log in? I get that I have to be connected, but why did I have to log in onto something? I'm logged into Steam. Why can't you just automatically like somehow link to my Steam account? That's my tirade. Anyways, back to David's tidbits.
Yeah. Well, I just have one more, and you guys probably sussed it out already because it wasn't particularly very hidden. But the game is based on Scandinavian folklore.
Yeah.
The devs took a heavy inspiration from. Yeah, no. Well, I found that before we started playing, so you know.
That's true. That's true. It's you know what? I will say this is very Valheim-y, so it does give me some remembrances of that feeling.
Are there deer people in Valheim? Is that like a
no? But there were a lot of deer that I murdered in Valheim.
Yep, that did happen.
Oh,
that did happen. There was a lot of that.
They're coming back for their revenge, Chad.
Oh God. And now it's time to get down to the meat and taters, the gameplay, people. That's right. That's why you came here. You don't care about how pretty you might care how pretty the game is, but some people don't. Some people like 8-bit. You know, like Tim. Tim loves 8-bit stuff.
I love 8-bit. I love it.
I mean, I'm not afraid of 8-bit stuff either. But let's get down to some of the controls and the gameplay. Like we mentioned earlier, this is very roguelike. I don't know, Tim, is there anything specific you want to mention about the roguelike style of this game that we might not have touched on already? I'm not sure if we.
I mean, we'll probably get into it as we discuss the gameplay. I will preface the arguments that are to come with I am pretty much the only one of this group that plays roguelike games.
No, I love Hades.
Okay, well there we go. Chad
That's a roguelike,
Hades.
but this is not the same. I hesitate calling this a roguelike because it's not the kind of roguelike that I'm used to. You know what I mean? I don't. Because this really isn't like Hades and this 1,000 times different types of games.
What do you mean? Every run works exactly like this in Hades.
But it's like the gameplay. Like I'm always in my head. I feel like, and maybe this is just my, ignorance coming out about how roguelikes are like maybe genre overall. But I always see top down, you're kind of looking at your character, you see the full map and you beat them up and you're kind of gliding everywhere and it's very fast paced. This is none of that.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Like, I'm talking about the actual gameplay elements though, because combat is fast as fuck in this game. It is.
When you get to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like, I don't know if it's going to at some point be more roving and crazy. It seems like this one's more of the type of game where you beef up and fight bosses as opposed to an adventure title, which is, I think, where you're getting lost on that one. This one seems more focused on the boss fights than the actual, like, overworld stuff, whereas the one you like is more based on the, you know, the actual adventure portion as opposed to the boss fights.
Yeah, it just takes a while to get to the point where it sounds fun.
You know, dude, fair enough. But yeah, it has the roguelite setup. You know, you go into your run, you know, depending on the roguelite, I should say, you go into your run, you choose your loadout, and then you go into your run, and then basically you get random shit as you go, and then eventually you're either going to win or you're going to die, and you're going to start over. That's the formula. Yeah. There you go.
All right. So I guess if all it takes to be a roguelike is just to start over and get more stuff, well, I guess this fits the bill.
Roguelike, and then there's roguelite.
Oh, what's the difference? I always get that
confused. So roguelike is the one that does not have any type of in-between, like, progression. It's just you do your run, and then that's the game.
Okay.
And then every time your run's going to be different, but there's no, like, outside extra stuff. Like in this game, you know how we unlock all that extra stuff after?
Yeah.
That's roguelite. Roguelite does not have that. You just die and then you're doing a new run.
And it's just fucked. Okay.
Yeah, it never gets easier. It never gets extra stuff. It's just always a new run.
So Hades is also roguelite.
Yes.
Not like. Okay.
Correct.
You know what? I've always been confused with that term, and I've always used roguelike, assuming that people just like use them interchangeably.
Pretty much everyone uses them interchangeably. Most people do not know the difference, but that is the difference between them if you wanted to know.
That is learning for me. That's very interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, a little bit about the controls of the game. So I will say the controls pretty simplistic as far as like the combat goes. You know, space is the jump. It's shift is to run, or no, control is to run. Sorry, actually, it was a little bit odd on that one. Shift was actually to dodge, I believe, and then WASD to move, and then left click was to like light attack, and right click was to like super attack. Then also had some like if you hold down right click, you could do like this like kind of charge up like thing where you attack forward and dash at them.
Yeah, it was like your shield breaker.
Yeah, it was like a shield breaker. And then there was the last attack, which was was Z. So you charge up this blue stuff. I forgot what it was called, focus or something.
Yes, focus.
And you can get kind of like your overcharge, and then you're like much stronger. And then like your relics, which we could talk about a little bit later, like add on to that as well. I mean, there might be other things that your relics can do, but the ones I found all had to do with your like focus charge. So very simplistic, but like I will say it was irritating to me, and maybe some people like this. Maybe I'm the odd man out, but every single time I don't even touch the forward button, right? I'm not pressing W at all. Anytime I would attack, I'm moving forward. I'm constantly moving forward. So you always have to be like a couple steps back, or you're going to like literally pass someone up. Like there's a few times when I was fighting and I was like right next to them, and I'd go right past them because I just clicked and I was too far or too close to them. Yeah. So it was a little frustrating because it's not how I'm used to games playing. Like I'm more used to like the Kingdom Hearts style where I walk up to you, I stop, and I attack in front of me, and I stay still.
Do you though? Do you?
Okay, I mean, you kind of do.
You'll step into the attack, but you're not like gliding forward.
I like literally flew forward. There was a point at the very beginning of the game where, when we'll put it on screen, where I literally just fly right on top of this barrel. I just attacked. I didn't touch forward. And the worst part is when I was trying to do it again, I couldn't recreate it. So like, it's just like, it's just frustrating when I'm trying to attack.
The when we were still in like the tutorial cave, like when we first started, you attacked forward and like slid up the rock until you were standing on top of it.
Yeah, it does happen. And like, I will say, you know, it's not, it looks like it's a little more floaty, but you do float forward in Hades as well when you attack. You do.
Yeah, but that's...
And most roguelite games, if you are a melee combatant, you usually move forward a little bit with your attacks because there's a mechanic that usually comes with dodging where you can attack into it and dodge and attack from behind.
I know what you're talking about, but this just didn't feel right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
To be fair, watching it, it looks way too floaty. I'm not trying to defend this one. It definitely.
I wonder
looks
if it would
way
have
too
been
floaty.
mitigated at all if you had bothered to use the lock on.
Oh, I forgot there was a lock-on option.
I don't think it would have been mitigated.
I used it once when it told me to do it.
Locked on, and you would have dashed forward and just like zoomed around them in a circle.
Yeah, probably. It's just like it just keeps going around them, not hitting them at once. The only attack that I was actually really good at was the jump and like throw sword down on the ground, and like it did like an AOE attack, which was pretty great. But unfortunately, it doesn't do a lot of damage. But if you want to play at the beginning of the game, you could literally just jump and do that the entire time and kill all the guys with very little damage to you. It does take more time, and you're not really learning the game. So I will admit that I didn't learn the game at all.
On the boss.
No, it did not. It did not work on the boss whatsoever, or the zombies. To be fair,
yeah.
So
I just thought of something that made me disappointed.
Oh, what?
You should be able to use the grappling hook in combat.
Oh, that's right. So in the game, you get this grappling hook, and all it's really used for is like get across things, which is
like climbing ledges.
Climbing ledges. But Dave, do you want to go into the frustration that we had with the kind of like the look or like how the grappling hook kind of like animated?
Yeah, it's really weird because it's not, because when you picked it up, the way I thought it was going to work, icon or not, I thought you were going to like look at or be next to a ledge and he'd like throw it and catch himself and like pull over or whatever. But it doesn't do that. What happens? You like, do you have to jump? You were jumping all the time, but I was just like, do you have to jump to do it?
I think if you're like at a place where you can do it, you can just grappling hook. But there, like if there's like a cavern or something beneath you, you have
jump
to
over
jump
and
first, and then you have to do it.
Yeah, because what it does is, and it looks really weird too, because it's almost like two different grappling hooks. He throws it, and then it does like this rope animation, like arc up in the air. But then that animation stops, and it just like snaps to what you were trying to catch, and it pulls you up over it. And it looked really weird, and I can imagine it feeling really weird because you're gonna jump and throw the grappling hook, but then there's like a split second where it's like, oh shit, did I miss? Am I gonna fall? But then it snaps to the edge, and like you pull yourself up over the thing.
And maybe and you can't, unless I'm missing it, I don't know.
Because when I asked you if you could get up those ruins, and like we found out you could, but not really because the one was taller and it wasn't gonna work. The hook only goes vaguely in the direction you're looking at. Like you can't influence, like if you're closer to the wall and you look straight up, he's not going to throw it like that. He like throws it, it does the standard animation and just like bounces off the wall. So like you have to basically jump into the exact position you want to be instead of like looking at the ledge and then throwing the hook at it and bringing yourself over that way. You have to like, it's almost just like a long range mantle.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think Batman Arkham Asylum has it when like he grappling hooks something. There's like a little like indicator that you can hit this ledge, right? I assumed that there was going to be something like that, but there's not. It's just like press F and he just throws it, and whatever grab onto, you grab onto.
Yeah,
and
guess what, Chad? You just suggested how to improve the grappling hook mechanic. It's like just make it like Batman.
Just, honestly, and it like. I don't know why that would be too complicated. Like that's when I thought, like when you told me to, see if you can go up there. I was like, oh, there's no icon. It's not even telling me F like the other ones were doing. At least like previously it would say like F at the bottom to grappling hook. So I assumed that was like my indicator that I just had to do that.
It was just a tutorial.
That was just a tutorial, and you just throw it and then hope to God that you make it.
It's a fair criticism, but like I have a feeling that, and eventually they'll probably have something like that in the game. You know, it's early access. That's probably not what you're going to focus on the most with a roguelite game, considering that we've had to use the grappling hook literally only in the tutorial so far.
I guess but it did make us use it a lot, and
It
like
did.
for no reason at all. It felt like
Yeah.
it's like, here, go into this area and just jump grappling hook like 5 times. There's no enemies in here.
That other
There's
one
no
too,
items
when
in here. Just do it.
after we first got it, and there was that one, I don't know what it was. It was like a hacked pillar or something. But you jump, like you can jump almost up to it, like the edge of the pillar is at your shins.
Yeah.
And he won't get up over you. Like you have to, like he jumps this far away from the edge, and you still have to grapple hook to it. It feels a little silly.
And you mentioned something during the game, and I was like, you know what? That is kind of irritating. It's like you can jump close to it, but like fall straight down instead of just like grabbing the ledge. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, why do I have the grappling when I'm literally at the edge? I feel like that makes no sense to me. But
Like he could, if your character could lean forward, he could jump up that high, lean over the pillar, and then he'd be on the surface you're trying to get
yeah,
on.
it was a little frustrating for some of the jump stuff. And maybe again, like Tim said, maybe there's more to it, and like the it's just weird because it's at the very beginning of the game. I don't know, but it was kind of frustrating. But one thing I did kind of like about the game as we were kind of perusing through it was that they have like a ton of different status effects. Most of ones you've seen before, like you're frozen, you freeze for a little bit. If you're, lightning strike kind of thing, you're stunned for a little bit, kind of very Pokemon-esque stuff. But there were a couple that were a little bit different. One I was confused at until we read it. It was the difference between weakened and cursed. So weakened means that your strength is lower, so you don't do as much damage. And then there was cursed, which, what was it? They just do more damage to you.
Yeah, doubles the damage to you.
Well, I
Doubles
think-
the damage.
Unless I read the tooltip wrong, perhaps we can look at that real quick. I think cursed only applies to you. Like, I think that's a status effect that you can get, but not necessarily put on anybody. Whereas
Oh.
weakened, it's either like you can get weakened or you can weaken enemies.
Yeah,
Maybe.
there's a chance. Most games like this will give you the ability to do every status effect, assuming you can find the weapons that inflict it or cards that do so. We did not read through all of the things because they do show you everything that's available to unlock. So we could have spent some time looking through those. We did not. But there could be more stuff.
I glided through quickly though.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's
If
definitely
you
status
freeze frame,
effects
perhaps
to
you can
unlock.
see.
Yeah, there's quite a few things, and within there though, like, you could kind of amplify these status effects with like cards and relics and stuff like that. Tim, I was not to say that I was confused. It's just a lot. Do you want to kind of explain how cards and relics work in this
Yeah.
game?
Yeah,
Because
I
I
can-
think I would do a terrible job explaining.
I
it.
can go through it, and it's going to segue us into the hatred too, which is nice.
There you go. Perfect.
So basically, every time you kill an elite enemy, they will drop a fragment. And you can turn in 3 fragments for a series of 3 cards, and you get to choose one of those cards, and they all have mana costs. So if you can't actually afford any of the cards, you can just drain one to get more coins instead. But if you can afford them, cards become either bonuses to your stats or extra abilities, which I'm going to assume eventually you'll be able to be like, oh, your attacks now inflict curse, stuff like that, have a chance of inflicting curse. But there's also relics, which are all passive, that you can get, and there's relic slots on the side. I think you can get up to like 8, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Might
something
have been
like that.
10, but I think it was 8. And those all have passive effects. Like the one we got was, I think we got 2 plus 60%
needles?
damages, and then we had one that when you surge, it does an AoE attack around you that
Yeah.
does damage based on how many coins you have, which is super cool. All kinds of stuff like that. But as you go through the game, there's also scary chests that are covered in hatred. And if you absorb the hatred from those, it corrupts your fragments that you've been getting from the enemies and makes you get debuffs that essentially just buff the enemy. I'm assuming those will get more wild as we unlock more stuff. But the ones we get always just buff the enemies by 5%, bosses and elites, which was cool. And then there's a
Probably
little
why I got
bar.
my butt smacked. Now I think
It
about
might
it.
be. It might
Yeah.
be. That is fair. We did increase all of his stuff by like 25%. So.
I absorbed every hatred I came across.
Yeah, and to be fair, we wanted to see the stuff, so it's
True.
worthwhile endeavor. But there's also a bar behind the like the icons for the fragments, and there's 3 sections, and each time you fill a section, you fill this by absorbing hatred. It will lock out that fragment until you complete a boss fight. So it'll
I'll
stop
never
you
do.
from getting more cards. So you'll only have access to 2 cards now instead of 3, which is kind of neat. So you kind of debuff yourself if you grind too much. It's quite nice.
So maybe it said, or there isn't a limit, because the little picture behind each of the fragments, it looked like there was space behind each of the fragments. Would you be able to play enough where you're essentially not getting cards anymore?
Yeah, you can literally lock
lock
yourself
out all 3.
out of obtaining fragments if you do not complete boss fights.
And there's just all debuffs.
So
Uh,
gotta watch out for that.
well, and another nice thing about the cards in particular is like you don't have, as far as I could tell, like, equipment, quote unquote. Like you'll have like your sword and your shield and stuff, but you don't change those things unless you get a card that can change it for you. For example, like I got like one that like upped my armor, so that card went in place of one of my slots in the top, and then
Yeah.
I think another one would be like for your weapon, and it would just up your weapon. We didn't see if it changed your weapons though.
We did see that though.
Did we?
Yes, we had the sword archetype.
Yeah.
We unlocked the I believe it was called the dual axe archetype, and
Oh,
there
you're
was
right.
another one. So there is different weapons that you can get.
That's right. So like you can't. So when you first start the game, you can only start as a sword person, but the more you play through, the more you can unlock.
Yes.
That's right. So that's why I was only sword. So I'm assuming that the next character, if he was like the dual axe people, they'd only be axes. Got it. Okay. I was really confused about that, but you're right. I do remember seeing that now.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. I hope there's magic people. I want to see mages.
There might
there
be.
mages?
There might be. We didn't see magic like in our playthrough, but there could be. Most of these games usually have some kind of magic
Some
system.
type of arcane.
It
Yeah.
might be eventually too. Who knows? It's in early access. So
Oh yeah, they could just add different classes.
Yeah, they could just expand upon it. The 2 things I would like to see in this is definitely like more classes and more races. I don't know if there's more than 3, but there's only 3 on the slots that I could unlock. So I'm assuming there's only those 3 right now. But yeah, the next thing I kind of want to go over, we kind of touched on it previously, is how traveling works. So as Tim mentioned before, like there are these raven spots, and you can kind of go and turn into a raven, and then you can. I called it fast traveling. David disagrees. It's just faster traveling. He called it. Basically, so you can kind of see all the icons in the area, kind of decide where you want to go, and then as your raven, you can kind of glide and go in. It's very cool. I thought that was an awesome mechanic. I think it almost reminds me of like a little bit of Assassin's Creed when you go to the top of buildings and you kind of like scout out the area. Like I like that kind of stuff. Except you could fly. It's even better.
yeah.
I like the freedom of it.
Well, they
The
give
only
you a
issue-
ridiculous amount of
Yeah.
freedom with
Yeah.
it too.
You could.
Oh my gosh, we went to the tippy top and then it just like lagged us out and like dropped me to the ground. But it was pretty cool. But it was really pretty as well. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like you could see everything. But the controls baseline, and maybe you could fix it later in the settings. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't look in there, but it's inverted. So up is down and down is up. Left and right are still left and right, but up is down and down is up. So I didn't know that right away. And literally it shoots you out as a bird and you just start flying into the ground. So I panicked. I immediately panicked. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I finally eventually figured it out. You can go faster or slower as the bird too. So you can kind of adjust your speed. I will say when you're in the air, you don't really notice it, but kind of you're trying to land. And so how you land is you have to go towards the ground and press X at the right moment. The problem is like, I thought like if I took a nosedive, my character would die. So I was kind of like nervous to do that, but it doesn't look like you take any type of damage when you jump like literally from the top of a mountain. You just kind of like dodge roll and you're fine. So it doesn't seem like you take fall damage at all. So I guess my just nosedive into the ground and press X to turn back into a human. kind of find weird that you have to go to a Raven spot specifically. It's probably so you can't just get out of a battle, but like, why just not lock in the battle area only?
As I say, there's more than one open world game I've played where, like, if you're in a town, you can't fly. If you're in combat, you can't like fly to get away.
Just do that.
With the way the game is set up, and like you want to power up to go defeat these bosses, and like the aim of the game appears to be to defeat these bosses. I don't know why they're locking this kind of bird's eye view, like faster way to get around behind being in a certain spot, especially since it isn't like Far Cry where you have to open these spots up. They're just already here. Like, you don't have to do anything to open these spots up besides go to the spot that lets you jump into a bird. It doesn't, at least right now, it doesn't make a ton of sense of why they're locking that behind just needing to be there.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, they're probably going to add more stuff later that makes it more interesting to, you know, actually be roaming around as a person, that will allow you to, you know, do more things in exploration between point A and point B. I understand why you have to go to those places to become the bird. It's because you got to use the magic from those places to transform. I get that. You know, you can't just turn into a bird because you're not a bird person.
Well, that's another thing. Like, the game's called Ravenbound.
Rewrite it. Make me a bird person.
Make me a bird, damn it. And now that you mentioned that, why do we need a grappling hook? Why can't my power of being a bird just be that?
Wait, that's what I was saying though, is like, so far it doesn't really seem like the grappling hook was really used outside of the tutorial, which is why I don't really have any gripes about it, because we literally didn't even have to use the damn thing. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I think I used it once to try to get out of the mountain that we didn't need to be in, and that was maybe it. And
then you ended up just being able to jump right up the side anyway.
Yeah, I Skyrimmed my way through the entire thing, so it's like, I don't know if I necessarily needed that. But now that you mentioned it, I would have liked to see more like Ravenous things. Like, why couldn't we do, like, why don't I have like Raven powers, or like, I don't know.
That'd be cool.
I feel like,
I just thought of like a few really cool Raveny powers they could give you.
Okay.
So one, you'd contextualize the double jump as like a bird flap. So like you get these ghostly wings, and you get like an extra bit of height on a second jump.
Yeah,
or
I like that.
The same thing. The same thing is maybe only on certain weapons, because like if you're carrying a shield, you probably don't want to give up a shield bash. But like maybe if you're dual wielding something, you could do like a knockback with a wing flap again. You do a knockback to like push, instead of having area of effect, you just like push a single enemy away in front of you. Like, give me some space. And then you just like, you can put the stuff on a cooldown, you know, so you can't spam it or whatever. But there's all, incorporate. It's called Ravenbound, okay? Incorporate this bird stuff better into the game.
I think they just call it Ravenbound because you are bound to this land and can be transformed into a raven to get around better, but, you know, it's fine.
Not loving that part of it, but I mean, and another thing that we mentioned that I guess David kind of alluded to before was there's no map that I've necessarily seen. There's no like, bring up the map to see where you like the whole thing. You have to turn into a raven, just fly really high and be like, all right, where do I need to go? Icons. All right. And actually, I didn't mention this when we were talking about icons. You can only see the icons. Like if you're on the ground level and say there's like a mountain in front of you, but there's like an icon on the other side, you can't see the icon on the other side of like that land mass. You can only see the icon that is in like your surveyed area.
I kind of like in that particular description, I can understand why they're doing that, but the spot where we found out that happens is really silly.
Yeah.
Because it was literally, there was a low valley and we were up on the hill of that valley and the crest of the hill was blocking the icon.
Yeah, I remember going like isn't it right over here? Yeah.
It was like 50 feet below, and like literally the rise of the hill was blocking that. So, you know, that shouldn't have happened. But I can get like, you know, like really far in the distance, a mountain blocking something on the other side of it. Like, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I would have argued that point, but then David brought up the fact that it's supposed to be like the raven's eye view, which means that it's being viewed from above. So I shouldn't have my icon blocked because there's like a bush in my way.
Just a shrub, one shrub, like right on the other side of where the icon camp is, and it's like, no, you can't see that.
But the one thing that we did get to was the town. That was actually the first area where we got to see like all the other characters outside of humans. And they had like the basic stuff like the armor, so you can get more cards specifically for armaments and things like that. They had like a place where you could heal, so you could spend coins to heal. They also had cards that specifically were for healing as well. And then they had something I was really excited for. It was probably the most excited thing I was in the game. There was like this gambling tent. Now this guy looked shady too, and he was like rolling. He was
doing
icon.
like the
he's
one of these.
Do that ringing his hands thing that Mr. Burns does in The Simpsons. Yeah, he was doing all that. Very exciting. We go and finally do it. I had to get some more coins because it costs 100 coins to do it. So basically, you go in and it gives. I was expecting like a mini game, like where you go in, you put down a card or something of yours, and then he puts down something of his, and if you win, you get it. If he wins, you lose. I was like, I'm in. Like, let's play some mini games. Let's play some dice. Let's do something. He has dice over his head. That means there's dice involved, right? Yeah. Basically, all that happens is he gives you 3 cards at random and goes like, yeah, take one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm fine with that, but
I'm not fine with that.
My thing is, right, if you're going to be gambling, right, if we want to make this mini game a game, you need to put down a card, and then he needs to put down a card based on how good your card is.
That's
and
fine.
If you don't win, you lose your fucking card. You don't get it back.
That's exactly what I said.
Right? Oh, I thought you were just saying you lose. No, you lose your fucking
you
shit.
lose your card.
All right.
That's what I wanted.
I'm fine
you know
with
what,
that.
too?
Yes.
What they should have done, or another thing they could have done is, make it a wheel. Not like a roulette wheel or anything, but
like
just have
those, like spinny wheels.
Spinny wheel,
anything.
A couple of slots are cards, a couple of slots are lose a card.
With big
maybe
middle
there's
fingers.
a couple of slots. Yeah, big middle finger, you lose some health. Lose some health. That'd be a gamble.
Anything.
I'd be okay with that too. But yeah, I mean,
anything.
I would
Gamify
prefer
It's a fucking game.
If we're going to do the gambling, to have stakes with it.
Have whatever the pie slice they end up cutting the wheel into, have half of that. So like the little insert pie, like the bankrupt slice in Wheel of Fortune, that's just die. It just kills your run.
That I would be all for that.
I love it. I love it. See, that's perfect. This is
$1,000
that's exactly what I was
dead.
expecting.
I'm okay with David's version. I like David's version. Add the roulette wheel, please. Do that and have the best spot. Oh my god!
You can have multiple things. You could have multiple ways of doing it. Maybe you have a dice game where you put down a card and then he puts down a card.
Like different games in different towns. Yeah, let's go.
You could choose it up. I'm okay with anything. I was just very disappointed in the fact that it's just essentially what you gave me is a loot box. That's gambling, fine.
Yeah.
Arguably, yes, whatever.
Even if they would have even if it was just visually different, it probably would have softened the blow. It was just an expensive shop.
It was, and I was confused when I opened it up. I was like, I thought what I was doing when I first saw it, because like it just presents you 3 cards. I thought I was choosing 3 of my cards, so I was like, oh, I don't care about this one. Let me choose this one, and then it gave it to me, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, you bought the bad one. Nice.
I bought it. I thought I was giving that away. All right, now it's the final say. Will we continue Ravenbound? And since I played the game, I will be going last. But David's stepping up to the plate real quick. David, Ravenbound, was it worth your time, money, and energy? Will you play again?
No. I just bounce right off of roguelite games. They are not my jam. I've never played Hades. I would have to go into my extensive catalog to find a game. Never mind, I just thought of one. I liked Inscription. Inscription was cool.
Yeah, Inscription's great.
Inscription. Yeah.
Is that
roguelite?
That's the only one
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a. There's no combat. It's a card game. Like it's a tabletop game. But
just trying to figure out the roguelite versus
until
roguelite thing.
The robot section where it turned to a Souls-like. Fuck that.
So David will not be continuing the game. Oh. Well, Tim, will you be continuing Ravenbound?
I'm gonna pick this one up probably.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It looks really good in my opinion. I'm a huge fan of roguelikes and roguelites, so this is right up my alley. Unlike you two, so like it's got all the stuff that I like for the most part. There are a few things here and there that look a little rough, but I'm assuming they'll get tweaked as the game goes on. And these guys did Second Extinction. I mean, come on, that's a great game. So I can't assume this one's
really
not
fun.
going to be great when it comes to release time. I mean, come on, like don't give me that face.
If it comes to release time.
Yeah, but like you say if it gets a release time, how dare you, sir? But yeah, it's
Second
got,
Extinction hasn't gotten released yet.
Well, it's because this game took over, so take that.
Well, some other game's going to take over this one,
Maybe,
and it'll just be a
but,
daisy
like,
chain of nonsense.
First off, I love the rogue legacy system of rolling characters, and this game has that. And then this game has what looks to be quite a few traits that you can unlock as you go, and there's like already almost 200 different cards in the game to unlock, and like there's just so much to unlock already in the game. I'm very excited to see where it's going to go, and I want to see more of these boss fights, and I want to experience the combat for myself, because it looked a little janky, but it also looked like it was pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Skill-based, so like you need to be able to time those blocks and those dodges to get the most out of it, yeah, or else you're gonna get your ass beat, and like it looks really fun.
That's actually a good point to bring up. We didn't when we were talking about the unlockables and stuff, but when Chad was quickly scrolling through the card database, whatever it was called, it looked like some, perhaps like the bottom ones, were just blank. I can imagine you just find those and they like randomly, and then they get added to your deck after you discover them.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a whole host of cards at the top of the list that they're locked behind challenges. Like you have to do stuff to unlock those cards.
Yeah, there's all kinds of replayability with this game already based on everything that I've seen, which is phenomenal. And like that's what keeps you coming back to a roguelite, is you want to progress, you want to unlock that stuff, and that's what does it. Like, look at those faces, but like that's what it is, you know. That's the fun of the game, because you're playing the same game over and over and over again. Like that's what it is, you know. Same thing with Hades, you're playing the exact same game over and over and over, but as you go you get more stuff, and it makes every run interesting because you always have new stuff to play with every single time. It's really fun.
All right, well, it's my turn as the player of Ravenbound. Will I continue? No. The minute that I found out there was no character customization, I was immediately out. I'm sorry. I like to make, like, I spend 2 hours minimum making a character usually. Like, I don't know. I just like having more control. This game felt like a lot of a lack of control on a lot of things. Specifically in the battle system, like it like Tim mentioned earlier, it looks a little floaty. It is very floaty. It's not the type of, like, at first when I was messing with it, I was like, oh, it's not that bad, not that bad. And then I started like trying to like incorporate the blocking in, and like what you do have to pay attention to the characters, and maybe this is part of the charm of the game for some people. It's not for me, where they look like they're about to attack, and then they hang for a second. So you block. And then they attack. Yeah. But that doesn't count. That doesn't count because they hung for a second.
You need
irritating.
to block when they're attacking, not when they're hanging back. That's not part of the attack.
Well, they lift their arm.
That's to make you block. That's to make you block before they're ready to attack, so you get hit.
If you're going through the first time, you're learning the game, and like you need to pick up on that stuff.
I don't want to
in order to do the block. I mean, you do that anyway with any games, just because they're faking you out. It's not a huge deal. The problem I have, and especially because I think I ran into this in Elden Ring, although I'm not entirely sure because I was very angry at that game. When the fake outs last different amounts of time.
Yes.
Like if the fake out is part of the attack animation, and it's just like one of 3 or 4 different animations he has, but the fake out is the same length every time, I'm fine with that. If they're changing the delay on every attack or on every one of those animations, that's what really pisses me off.
Well, they weren't here though. It's the thing is like especially the first guy, like he had 3 set move sets, which was I'm gonna go in with the sword immediately, and then he did the huge hang back to strike, and then there was one other one, and then once you know like those poke. 3 things, you can now block with impunity, and you're going to be fine because you now know his 3 movesets, and as soon as you see him do one, you're good. Right?
I can't hear any complaints about that type of stuff.
Elden Ring, while they do change up the time, it's not based on different attacks, it's based on the cues that are given during the attacks. So he might have an overhead swing and he will do it 2 different ways based on certain cues within his movement that you got to pick up on. And then once you know those 2 things, the timing doesn't actually change. You just miss the cue on the one. So you think it changed, but he has a different cue for that one.
Even still, like, maybe it's just I wasn't as observant because we were filming or whatever, and I was talking at the same time. But I felt like it was harder to understand when the actual attack was. Like, usually in my gameplay knowledge, my intuitive way I normally play games, usually there's like an instance where you know they're going to attack. I still couldn't figure out exactly what that point was. Is it when he's about to lift? Is it about when how do I know when he's about to come down? And that's when you're supposed to block. I don't know when he's going to come down, I guess, unless I count.
You have to pay attention. But yeah, I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea. But yes, these games are all about observation. So you have to observe your enemy, and then you learn their movement set, and then you beat their ass. So
I guess
that's the flow.
I'll leave it there because I guess, again, not my type of game, which is why I won't continue. I won't rag on it too hard because if this is, Tim's defending it, saying this is like what it's supposed to be like. So, okay, fine. If that's what it's supposed to be like, I can't argue that point. It's just not for me.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'm just not going to continue. However, if you do want to test it out for yourself, the game is available on Steam for $29.99. I believe it is PC exclusive. I looked and I couldn't find anywhere where it was on any consoles.
It is. It's only on PC right now.
So it's only on PC right now, probably because it's early access. So maybe if it does get a full release, RIP already, because who knows. Maybe you'll see it on other consoles. But thank you for listening to the First 30. And for those who are listening, remember, this is a video podcast, and you can watch and find it at youtube.com/@First30podcast.